Five things that you have to know when you're getting your first pilot job. Welcome to the Super Pilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and I'll be talking to you about five things that you really should know when you start your first pilot job in my basement. All right. So I was thinking, this one here came to me. This idea came to me pretty easily, actually. It was a couple days ago. It's not. I didn't think of this like 5 seconds before I came on, like I do a lot of the time. But yeah, I was thinking about. There's a lot of people that are. That whole pilot shortage thing is sort of still happening. Baby boomers are still retiring. There's a whole lot of people jumping from instructor to regional carriers, from the bush to regional carriers. So there's a lot of people starting off, uh, moving up the chain as they do in the aviation industry for pilots. And so there's a bunch of people that are just starting off brand new. And I just figured, I was thinking, no, what advice could I give people like that? And so I was like, okay, here it is, 5 things. So I was talking yesterday. I went over to a friend of mine's, Denis' house. I actually taught him his instructor rating, and he's a part-time instructor right now, kind of like I am. And actually, he works a little more than I do, even though he's retired, full-blown retired. He just does it for fun. Yeah, so Denis, I was picking up some leaves over at his house because I trade him garlic for leaves every year, so I can cover my garlic with leaves. Good mulch. And so I came up with a few things that pilots would need to know. So I asked Denis because he was a little bit fresher than me at being a new pilot for a job. And so he came up with a couple good ideas, and I'll give him credit where credit is due. And but first, I'll talk a little bit about. Meanwhile, someone's like, "Just tell me the 5 things." No, I'm going to get you to watch. But yeah. So the first thing you have to remember is that when you are going to become a pilot, just about every facet of aviation, when you're a pilot, every type of airplane you're going to be flying, it's a service industry. So you do have to have a certain minimum level of people skills, just like if you're working at McDonald's or Tim Hortons, or if you're working as a bartender or something. Now there's different levels of how outgoing you have to be. Like at bare minimum, you just have to be pleasant with the passengers you're taking up. And it doesn't hurt. Like I always found when I was doing sightseeing trips, it'd be good to know a little extra things, and tell kind of little, oh, did you know this? Here, did you know that the salt from the salt mine down there goes onto the ships, and they put it on the roads in Chicago? They actually do that here in Windsor. So and we always fly over the salt mine, and you see these big piles of salt, and people go, oh, that's interesting. So that's like a little bit extra, a little bit more, I don't know, not just like, I'm flying the plane, but I'm not swearing, something like that, pleasant enough. And some pilots will be like that. But you don't have to be, hey, everybody. You don't have to be over the top like that. But it is a service sector job, and you have to kind of think of it that way, unless you're like a freight dog, and then you can just be all smelly and tired and grow your beard out, and who cares? so, but the yeah, so yeah, if you're an instructor, or even if you are working out in the bush, and you might be taking hunters up to go moose hunting, or you're taking fishermen up. They're on vacation, they're paying a lot of money, and they deserve a little bit of a bit of pleasantness to make the trip better. And so that's the first thing. Just remember, it is a service industry. It's not a construction site. It's not a machine shop. It's not, I don't know, it's not hanging out, drinking coffee and eating donuts at the truck stop, So if you think about it that way. So just remember, you are now in the service industry, and you just started your first job. So Denis gave me this little idea, and I'm just got a. This is the back of my my craft dinner mac and cheese box. I'm putting it to good reuse here. So there's going to be 5 things. We're going to start off at number 5 at the bottom. And oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I still have the cardboard, no whiteboard. Whatever. People like the cardboard though. Okay. Okay. I don't know. It's like some of this advice. I can't really say that it's this is the most important. Like it's all important, but I'll kind of roughly put it uh, in order. Okay, number 5. Always be learning. Okay, and it's almost impossible to not learn when you're in the aviation industry. Technology is always changing, rules are always changing. The model of your airplane could be getting this and that upgrade. So, if you want a job where you figured, okay, I went to school, I learned this, I can shut my brain off, I never have to learn again. Well, aviation's not for you. You're going to be learning for your entire career, and you talk to any pilot, they'll tell you the same thing. So you're always going to be learning, and it's always best to learn from other people's mistakes. So if you can kind of keep your ears and keep your antennae out there, and you hear something, I shouldn't do that. Okay, yeah, don't do that because that happened to him. So, or yeah, she got fired for that. Okay, won't do that. So you're always be learning, and I think generally pilots find things interesting, so they naturally learn. But don't forget, it's like you might have to put a little effort into it too. Sometimes you have to put a lot of effort into it. So that was number 5. Let's go for number 4. Okay, this one came from Denis also. Okay, I don't know if I have enough room for this. We'll see. Now, this is something that all pilots do, just about every pilot. Like I'm talking 99%. But you have to fight the urge to do it. And it is number 4. Don't beat yourself up if you're making mistakes. Okay. You're going to make mistakes. You are human. You make mistakes. That's why we teach human factors. That's why there are CRM annual recurrent training courses. So you're going to make mistakes, but don't beat yourself up for them. Think of them as a learning opportunity. It goes back to learning, right? And number 5. And yeah, so I mean, every pilot went right from the beginning when they do some kind of crap landing, and and then they think, oh, I'm the worst pilot in the world. It was like, no, the landing was probably safe if your instructor wasn't grabbing the controls. And it was a little bumpier, Ooh, you didn't grease it on the runway. Who cares? Nobody can grease it on the runway consistently. I don't care who you are. And sometimes you don't want to grease it on there. You want a nice solid landing, and so you can get on the brakes sooner, yeah, don't beat yourself up about any mistakes. And what, like Denis was telling me yesterday, is like, you could do 10 landings, 9 of them are perfect, and the one that you kind of flub, that one, it's like that's the one that you're going to dwell on. It's like, well, 90% of them are great, so don't beat yourself up. Good idea, Denis. Thanks. And another one that Denis kind of came up with. I was kind of thinking about this too, but we brought this up. Okay. Okay, what else can we do? Be honest with. Okay, this is getting smaller and smaller. Okay, just made it. Okay, this one here is be honest with I'm safe. So there's this thing in Canada, it's called the I'm safe checklist. It has to do with, do you feel fit to fly? And the I'm safe checklist, I didn't even look it up. See how good I am if I can do this from memory. Actually, I'll get another piece of cardboard for this. Yeah, what the heck? I'm going to test myself here. Okay, I think I did a video before on this one, but hey, we're getting double cardboard today, boys. Look at this. Okay, I'm safe. And that stands for illness, medication, S, illness, sleep. No. Uh-oh. Good question. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research on this on the fly here. A, alcohol, fatigue. I think eating. All right. You know what? I thought I could do this on the fly, but here we go. Let's see if I can do this here. Oh, hey, we got some people in here. I'm gonna see if I can open another window where I don't see myself. And I'm Googling I'm safe checklist. I don't know if you lost me or not. I can't see the screen at all. All right. Did you guys lose me or did hey, look at this. Okay. Now you can see the safety dock and wrench. I just gave you guys moderator status. So if you want, there's this interesting like porn bot that showed up here, which is cool, which means I'm going somewhere in life. Hey, there we go. Message deleted by Mona Moore. And Mona Moore is also a moderator here too. So, and I figured, Wrench, you got the blue wrench there because your name's Wrench. You got to do that. And oh, DH Pilot 1. It's like, hey, Denny. And yeah, so here we go. And Mona Moore, thanks for deleting the sex 69.fun thing. Oh man, I love this. This is so cool. Illness, meds, stress. Stress, that was it. Stress. Okay. And emotions. You know, I think sometimes the E, okay, this is what we got so far for the I'm safe checklist. Illness, medication, stress. Now, E, I've seen emotions as that, and I've also seen it as eating. I'm going to check. Maybe I'll do like a little Google image search. And I can't see what you guys are doing at all right now. Images? What are we doing here? And I didn't do that right. How am I doing here? Okay, this is looking. What do we got here? Eating. Okay, one of them says eating. So it could be emotions or eating. You know what? I think I'm going to go with eating because I think that's what it is in Canada. Now, okay, here we go. And I'll bet you they changed that. Okay, there we go. So your I'm safe checklist. Be honest with that. Because you don't want to be, let's just say, okay, the number one, okay, you're the young 25-year-old pilot. You just started off as a, you just got hired at the airlines, and here you are over in Rome at the very first time you've been in Rome. You go to the hotel and you have a little too much vino. There's your alcohol, right? You shouldn't be flying. So what I have heard from a very seasoned senior captain for an airline, which will not be named, when there's a few years ago, there's this pilot that got him like passed out in the cockpit and he got fired. And then they changed some alcohol rules in Canada, but not cool, man. You shouldn't be passed out in the cockpit. But when that happened, the senior pilot, he was like, he's the gray-haired dude with a good gut. And he's like, why didn't he just call in sick, say he got food poisoning? And it's like, that's one of those things I'll learn and I'll pass on. Now, that's probably something you can't actually bring up, but I mean, I don't work for an airline. So it's like, if you're sick, if any of those things are getting in the way, I got food poisoning, totally acceptable. And I was thinking about the eating thing there too, because I've also noticed that with, if you're teaching any Muslim students when they're going through Ramadan or they're observing Ramadan, which is they they fast, they don't eat anything or drink anything during the daylight hours, and they can party at night all they want. But it's like I have noticed for for those students that near the end of the when the sun's just about to be going down, and if you're trying to teach them how to fly, they're running out of energy and stuff like that because they just didn't have the food. It's a religious thing, and So I don't know. I think a lot of they might have gotten rid of the eating thing just to, because I mean I brought that up with Transport Canada before about, hey, if someone's doing fasting, or maybe they're doing their own diet or something like that. Uh, you know, I kind of said like, or well, okay, the student actually failed the test that I recommended him for, but the test got put off way off in the end of the day, so he was running out of energy and stuff, and he failed, and he was just, it's hard to do flight tests anyways. But so if you are doing Ramadan or you're doing some kind of diet where you're going to run out of gas at the end of the day, try to get your stuff done in the morning. And so I said that to the Transport Canada. Is like, hey, why did this guy fail? And I was like, well, and then I told Transport Canada, and they're like, "Ooh, Ramadan? Okay, well, I guess we can't say much about that." So, I mean, it's a touchy subject, and get into racism and stuff. But anyways, here we go. Yeah, so be honest with your "I'm safe" checklist, and that would apply with. I mean, a lot of these things, by the time you get into the airlines, you're 99.9% of all the pilots are like super responsible and keen and everything. But every once in a while, you make mistakes and you get caught. So you don't want to get caught and you don't want to do any mistakes. So you take this guy's basement advice. Okay. But emotion could be that too. I mean, but that would kind of get in with stress. But yeah, you shouldn't be, if you just broke up with your girlfriend or your, I don't know, your grandfather's sick or something like that, and it could be, and it's your favorite grandpa, then, it could be stressful for you. So, yeah, emotion, you got to watch out for that too. All right, number two. Okay, now for me, number two and number one are kind of tied. Um, Here we go. And I'll look at the questions afterwards here. And then if I see a question mark, I'll go and I'll answer the question. But we'll stick to the lesson here. Number two, we got. All right. What is he writing? We don't know. We can hear it, but we can't see it. There we go. Number two, don't complain. That's impossible for pilots to do. Pilots are absolutely, I don't know if you don't know too many of them in the industry, and that, especially airline pilots. When pilots are starting off in their career, they're all gung ho, and then they kind of run out of enthusiasm and they start complaining about the smallest little things. And and you also got to think about the nature of the job. Is that a lot of times, if you're in the cockpit and you're flying over the Atlantic, you got 4 hours to stare at this guy next to you, and you're kind of tired, and you're I don't know, you're waiting to get an upgrade to his seat, and you start they'll just start complaining about this and that. Oh, like, oh, the last time we went to Rome, oh, the hotel was overbooked, we had to go to this other hotel. Oh, I wish dispatch would do their job. Oh, the union's doing this to us, the management's doing this. And that's why I went for lunch with a buddy of mine. He flies a 787 out of Montreal, and I met him for lunch one time. I was up there visiting, and he was talking about, oh yeah, the pairings are like this, and the union is this, and but management's not doing this, and they should be training and hiring more. And he kept going on and on. And I was looking at him, I was like, dude, you know what? You're complaining. You're an actual airline pilot now. And he was kind of like, huh? Oh yeah, I guess I am. So it was kind of cool. And then he went back to complaining. But I was thinking, for any job that you're out there, everyone's getting paid to do their jobs. No one's really doing it. Flying's a weird one though, because a lot of people would pay to do that. John Travolta paid to go fly and bought his own airliner so he could fly it. But in any case, management, like I used to be a chief flight instructor, so I had a pretty good gang of people working for me, and I didn't really hear too many complaints, but they were gung ho, and they're moving on up in their career. There was some hope there. But if I ever heard anyone complaining as a boss, it's kind of like, okay, is this a one-time thing? Is it a legitimate complaint? Maybe it is. And then when I've seen other like I've had other students and they were whether shop owners or bosses of some description, and they really don't like hearing complaining from the how is it? Say like there's an employee talking about this place that they used to work at, and then well, who says that they're going to be complaining about your shop that you worked so hard to build up? So complaining really doesn't get you anywhere in life. It makes you feel good temporarily, but I think if you can be that positive person that never complains, it's just like, yeah, I'm happy to be flying today. Or it could be anything. It's like, well, I'm sitting here driving my truck, listening to my podcast. It's better than tarring a roof. It's better than digging the ditch with those guys that I got my air conditioning on in my truck, and those guys are sweating their asses off digging a ditch out there. And it's 100 degrees out. Like, hey, I don't have to. It's not so bad. So look on the bright side and try not to be too. Don't complain. Keep it to yourself, and discuss it with your bartender on the weekend or something like that. That's what they get paid for, right? Like therapists. Okay, and number one here. This is something that no one except for the superpilotish channel will tell you. Here we go. We're getting into the honest territory here too. All right. Underlined. Don't stink. Believe it or not, sometimes people stink. It's like it could be too much cologne. It could be in aviation. I've heard of it many, many times where it could be an instructor. So even if there's a student watching this, don't stink out your instructor. I hear that. I've heard those complaints, and I've smelled with I've flown with some smelly students too, right? And it's something that it's the hardest thing in the world to discuss with somebody to say like, look, dude, you stink. It's so I don't know, it's so awkward. But eventually, if it's not dealt with, and I'm dealing with right now for the industry, and if you ever have a student that stinks, tell them like, oh, here's these 5 things that you might want to check out. It's a good video. And it might not all apply to you, but yeah, check it out. And then maybe I can tell your student, hey, dude, give yourself the test. How am I doing? Whoa, yeah. So there's ways of not smelling. And a lot of what can happen is when if you're a starving student and you're learning how to fly, you might be able to get to the airport and stuff like that, but maybe you don't have laundry facilities there, so you get the shirt and go, yeah, I guess it's okay, and you throw it on, and then by the end of the day, if you're sweating, it's pretty disgusting. So in that case, wash your shirt in the sink. I do an instructor. He had this little ritual because we only gave like one t-shirt. Like I bought multiple t-shirts for my job, so I could just cycle them, go through 5 and then throw them in the laundry, or 6 or whatever I had. And then so there was one guy, one summer we were teaching these air cadets, and every day he had his one shirt, but he wasn't buying any extra ones. He's just like, he went home, took off the shirt, washed it in the sink. Any old soap will do. Get the soap off of it, hung it up to dry. Next morning, put on his shirt. It was his little ritual every day. He would wash his one shirt. He did that for 2 seasons, actually. Never had to buy another shirt. So it's a good way to save money. But yeah, so take a shower, make sure your laundry's done, brush teeth. There was this one chain smoking instructor I used to work with, but he never actually smelled like smoke, but he was always out chain smoking. And I was like, what's your secret, man? And he's like, oh yeah, wash your face, wash your hands, green gum. And it was like, yeah, he was a very well put together. He came from the corporate world, and I guess he might have learned that trick there. Because and you're outside too. You don't smoke in your office. So yeah, it's like don't think. It's like whether you're a student or an instructor, and that gets back to part of the service industry thing. So anyways, and yeah, take it easy on the hair gel and stuff. Yeah, I mean, chicks don't care about your hair gel. Whatever. Some think it's gross, crusty hair dude, but anyways, and lay off the cologne because you're in a cockpit with somebody, man. You don't want to be breathing in toxic stuff. Yeah, unless you'll get the other guy putting like the little fire hood on there, smoke in the cockpit. Okay, so let's that's about the 5 things. Let's do a recap on that. All right. Number 5, always be learning. Number 4, I'm reading this backwards in my little thing here. Okay, it said don't beat yourself up. If I've had I've known very, very accomplished pilots failing check rides, and they just treat it as a learning experience, and on they go. And you're not going to get fired for it, but just learn from it. Okay, be honest with the I'm safe checklist. You can Google that. Be honest with that stuff. Remember, oh, I'm sick. Too much of that stuff. Ooh, food poisoning. Remember that one. And okay, don't complain. No one likes to hear a whiner. And that'll actually, if you're all positive like that, management likes that. You're going to be the happy training captain and going home seeing your kids on the weekend rather than spending it in a hotel somewhere. And don't stink. Okay, there's a recap. So now we're going to go for a little bit of questions here. This is pretty cool. Let's see what we got here. Right. One of these days, I got a mouse that's on the way. I hate buying computer stuff. And so my brother picked up a couple of mouses from work that were thrown out, and I got to get them. Then I can just be all instead of using my little touchpad, I'll be all professional over here. Then get multiple screens. Ooh. All right. What do we got here? Any questions? What percentage of flight tests are disapproval? That's from Wrench. Okay. Percentage of flight tests are disapproval. Okay. There's a certain amount of, when I was a pilot examiner, okay, I had to keep an 80% pass rate on all my students. And which is tricky because when you're the chief flight instructor, you get pawned off like all the weakest students because you got the most, you have the most expertise to get them to their license, and not everyone learns at the same rate, and and so the weaker ones, they kind of get pawned off on the CFI, so that CFI can help them a bit more. See, you're the chief flight instructor has more tools in the toolbox, put it that way. And so I had to keep an 80% pass rate. So when my one guy failed, I went right down to the acceptable level. But if I failed another one there, I would lose my status as a pilot examiner, or it would be subject to investigation. So so that's the way that would be, and it's that way for any. It's one of those things you got to kind of look up. There's so many rules and regulations, but off the top of my head, Wrench, that's my my answer for you. And it's basically like that for every instructor. Not sure what it's like in the States. You'd have to ask someone there where you are. Okay, what do we got here? All right, so I don't have any questions there, but there's some interesting comments, and I like to see all these little blue wrenches in here. Thanks, Mona Moore, for wiping out the whatever sex bot XYZZ something. That's cool. I must be like my popularity must be going up if I'm getting all the spam and stuff like that. So I'm glad that. So the people with the wrenches, feel free to delete anyone that you think is, let's just say, I don't know, that looks like it's some nasty person, getting all offensive, we'll say. And very good. So I think that's about it for today. And welcome to the channel live, Denis. I'm glad you popped in. And we'll just kind of shut her down. There's no other questions. So thank you for watching. Bye.